Moving over to Newcastle, Paul, what will that Carabao Cup win mean for this Newcastle project in terms of signing new players and obviously keeping the stars that they currently have, the Bruno Guimaraes, the Alexander Isaks, always linked with a move away? But what does one major trophy win mean for the longevity of this project?
Listen, I think you can see what it means to the people of Newcastle, the people of the city, the supporters. It's been so long, it's been well documented. It's no longer the stick that you can beat them with. All the attention will be turned to Tottenham now for the team that hasn't won anything for so many years. It was just an unbelievable relief, and I think there's a lot of things that have been said about that cup final, but it did feel different for Newcastle. They weren't going there with hope. They weren't going there praying that they were going to win. They were going there with a real optimism, and there was a business-like performance about them. And I think that in itself shows where they've come and where they've developed as a team under Eddie Howe. I think the way that they set up, I thought they were tactically excellent against Liverpool. They didn't allow Liverpool to do the things that they wanted, and they recognised Liverpool's weaknesses and they exploited them. And I thought it was a really good top-level performance from Eddie Howe and his team. What that does for them going forward, they've still got the annoyance of FFP and PSR. You know, I've got no allegiances with Newcastle whatsoever, but for a Newcastle fan, it must be so frustrating. The richest club in the world, and you're not allowed to close the gap as quickly as you want to. You know, sustainability and profitability, all the rest of it. I understand that profitability is not the same as Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, others, you know, for the revenue that they generate. But sustainability is all about the financial situation of the club. Yes, they're owned by a Gulf state, but they're owned by one of the richest people in the world. The sustainability is not a problem for Newcastle. The rules have to be looked at, there has to be adapted, because it's, you know, they've had one of the best periods of their history, certainly in my lifetime anyway, and now everyone's talking about, oh, can they hold on to Bruno, can they hold on to Isak, what's the price tag? They should be, look, Newcastle have won this trophy, what type of players from around the world are they going to attract and who are they going to bring in? And that for me is just the most frustrating thing from an outsider looking in as well. Yes, we've seen the likes of Chelsea dominate the Premier League, Arsenal, Manchester City for so long dominated it, but they've been able to spend, and they've spent freely for a number of years. All other clubs have. Newcastle are now in that situation, similar to Nottingham Forest. They can't do it, but they have got the sustainability to be able to do it. Yes, it is going to make the big bigger and the strong stronger, etc. But how do these other clubs close the gap? There's got to be some kind of adaptation to the rules that allows this money to come into football and allows football clubs to grow. Because Newcastle, like other clubs, they're having to sell top young talent. Look at Elliot Anderson. Look at the season that he's having. He's having a top season for Nottingham Forest. He's been one of the best young players in the Premier League. And a player like that should be at Newcastle, and that should be what the side is built around, with these quality players. The Cup's excellent for them. It's an unbelievable achievement. But as far as anything goes and their growth goes, attracting players, it's FFP and PSR. They're balancing the books again, which is the most frustrating thing for them.
And Pete, we've spoke about potential striker names for Newcastle for a long time, not just because of the rumors around Alexander Isak, but we know Callum Wilson is leaving, and we know Isak, even though he's so fantastic, does miss some time pretty much every season. Victor Boniface is now being linked as well with Newcastle. Do you think this is more of a filling in for Isak if he leaves, or someone who could work with him on the pitch and as kind of a deputy striker?
I would probably say more as a potential replacement for Isak. Look, those rumours aren't going to go away for Isak. He's probably going to be one of the most talked about players in the summer transfer window, despite that massive £100 million plus. But there's obviously interest there from the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal, and I'm sure others. So it's going to be probably one of the sagas of the transfer window, what happens with Isak's future. Newcastle ideally want to keep hold of the Sweden international, but I'm sure they are looking at striking alternatives. Boniface at Leverkusen is a top player. He showed that last season when he had a very productive season with Leverkusen as they won the Bundesliga title and the German Cup and lost out in the Europa League final to Atalanta, but maybe not had the most productive of seasons this year. He's had a few injury problems, a few off the field issues as well, but still he's managed to get 10 goals in 22 appearances. 24-year-old, so he's still I think probably yet to reach the peak of his career. I think he's got all the attributes to be a success in the Premier League. Strong, has pace, can get in behind, and he's a good finisher as well. So he would be a smart move by Newcastle if they wanted to try and do it. But look, Bayer Leverkusen are under no pressure to sell. He's on a long-term contract at the German club, and they will be demanding top dollar for him if they were to sell him. So you're probably looking around £40 million plus for them to sell Boniface, who obviously faces a bit of an uncertain future this summer because he came very close to moving to Saudi Arabia in the January transfer window before Al Nassr finally decided to move for Jon Duran from Villa instead of Boniface, because for most of January it looked like Boniface was going to make the move to Saudi, but obviously he's still at Leverkusen. And it just won't be Newcastle who will be interested in Boniface. Chelsea are long-term admirers as well, and we know that they're probably going to be in the market for a number 9 in the summer transfer window, so he's probably one of a number of names both on the lists of Chelsea and Newcastle, and if Bayer Leverkusen want to sell him, he'll go for a big fee. But yeah, I think he's got all the attributes to be a big success in the Premier League, and he's a player that I'm sure would excite Newcastle fans if they were to firm up their interest in him.
His goals and value have only come in recent time, hasn't it? I think for Leverkusen as well. I think this could be a time to max out their investment, because you look at what they paid for him, you look at his worth now. This could be a real opportunity for them to properly max out their investment. So he's definitely one to watch this space.